Well, hey guys, welcome back to another exciting episode of YOML. It's the year of magical learning, and we're almost at the end of the year. It's another 2 week stretch until we close up the 2022 and beginning new year. But continue on with lessons for the year or whatnot. We are on reflection 174, and we're gonna take something from a business book and see if we can apply it to what we do here at ClubAny. So, Chris, why don't you tell us what it is?
Yeah. Sorry, Snow, you joined on a night when it's kind of a boring book, but hopefully the topic's fun. Just a quick question. Do you remember when we started this whole thing? Like, I can't remember. Did we start at the beginning of the year? So is it like been a full year, or do you remember when we did our first episode one of this?
It's not a full year. I think we did it probably like I would say February or something like that. I think.
February. Yeah. Oh, I definitely
Uh,
remember it was in February because I was at my parents' house, or I was in Hawaii when we filmed one of those things. So it was definitely in February. So yeah. Anyway, I was just wondering if we have officially gone a full year, doing this, which is kind of cool.
Almost. Yeah,
uh,
almost.
uh, that's something. So congratulations to us all. Yeah. So the book we're going to be talking about tonight is it's called Traction, Get a Grip on Your Business by the author Gino Wickman. I think I know, True. I know you've read this book, but Snow, do you have any? Do you know what this book is
I've
at all?
never heard of it. Yeah.
Okay, so this book's about this thing called the Entrepreneurial Operating System. It's a system designed by this author and his business group to help small businesses to gain traction, basically, and to really align their business around an operating system, I guess, just in general, to help keep everybody on the same page and marching toward the same goals and missions and objectives and stuff like that. So you're probably wondering, like, what the hell did we do? Why am I reading this book? Actually, it's kind of a fun story. So I'll just jump into the reflection. The reflection title on this one is what the heck is LOS, which is a pun on
EOS.
EOS. So I call it the life operating system, right? So so just quick background as to how this even came to be. About I don't know, a year, about a couple, I don't know, I want to say maybe 4 or 5 months into this whole journey with Trieu, doing this whole year of magical learning that is what it's become. We didn't know, we weren't calling it then, and we didn't have ClubAny involved or anything like that. We started to gain a little bit of traction with what we wanted to do around the vision of ClubAny. So we brought in a friend of ours. We were like, look, we're good at this 7th generation committee meeting and thinking 7th generation Iroquois shit and doing all this talk and whatever, and trying to figure out the vision of what we want to build, and to really try to live our values and our mission of ClubAny. But we're like, we don't really know how to operationalize it. So we started to think about some of our network of people that we wanted to bring into this whole entire thing. And that was when we reached out to Nichol, who became our 3rd ClubAny co-founder. And Nichol is his job was to kind of be the COO of ClubAny, right? To help us to focus in all of our stuff and like lock in on what is this mission that we're trying to do here at ClubAny, and to really try to help operationalize a lot of it. So Nichol is an expert at EOS, which is the Entrepreneurial Operating System. This is something that he operates in the business that he works at. He's like the owner of it within the organization, and he like keeps everybody in line, and he's kind of like a de facto COO almost in the tech company that he works at. So he uses this framework and he uses all this stuff, and he was like, guys, I think we should, as learning was one of our core values of ClubAny and still is and will always be. He was like, I think we should read this book, Traction. You guys open to it? And we were like, yeah, let's do it. So we all read it together, and that was how this book came to be, right? But as it relates to my journey of my own reflections of what I learned, I found it kind of funny as I was thinking through this book, like the whole idea of the entrepreneurial operating system is first to align around a vision and a mission and values, and then to really operationalize around that. So setting up your vital priorities and your your rocks. They call them rocks, I guess, in this program. You know, like what are our rocks that we need to like move that's preventing us from getting us to our goals, and et cetera, et cetera. And really the whole entire point of the operating the EOS system is to help you to align around that mission, the values, and your purpose, and then use that for clarity to guide you in your actions and your key priorities to focus on your business. So I kind of took that idea and I was like, sounds right up the alley of your magical learning, right? So it's all about mission and values and purpose, and then aligning around that and trying to bring out what you want to bring out. So it made me start to think about this Your Magical Learning journey, and how there's so many similarities to the EOS model and the I'm going to call it the LOS model, the life operating system. You know, this whole journey has been based around spending a lot of time trying to find your values, your mission, your purpose, you know, my personal ones that Amelia and I, since Amelia has passed away, and kind of how finding out that living for true purpose. And, you know, that was the first book that I wrote, right? It was mainly about a lot of that stuff. But then once that clarity and that vision was formed, then it was about trying to find the right people on the bus. And that's when Trieu came along. That's when we meet, you know, Nichol. That's when we meet Snow. That's when we meet all these other characters on the entrepreneurial operating system bus, you know, and we start to align a lot of actions and activities around it, which the core values quest was one of those things. And now Your Magical Learning is one of those things. And I just found like so many similarities into this model of, this is about running a business, but really in a lot of ways, it's a very similar model to how you can run a, I don't want to call it efficient, but like a meaningful, purposeful, purpose-driven life, you know, in a lot of ways. And as I was writing on this particular reflection this day, I almost started like cracking up as I was like thinking about these similarities and corollaries between the two, because every Sunday since Amelia's passed away, I've gone to visit her at her grave, and early on it was really more of like a just, you know, incredibly sorrowful time and missing her and longing for her in my life. Not that I don't still think about that today, but really it's morphed into what I like to call our L10 meeting. I mean, it's no joke. We get together every single week and we have our L10 meeting, which in the EOS model is stands for level 10 meeting, which means everybody after the weekly L10 meeting, they rate it, you know, on a scale of 1 to 10. And the whole point is always to have like a 10 out of 10 meeting right at the end of the day, and like make sure that everybody gets what they want to get out of this thing, and that we all are aligned in our vision going forward, and all that good stuff, and to keep us in line around our vision, our values, our purpose. And so Amelia and I, we get together every Sunday, and we talk about the week that was, we talk about living for two, we talk about, you know, our values, and if we're bringing them to life, and how we can change that. We talk about the week to come, and we decide if we're on track or not. Like, and I mean, I don't mean that to be stupid, like I'm some weirdo that gets there with some like business book or whatever, like, you know, some journal, and we're like tracking things and charting stuff. It's not like that at all. It's just more about just checking in on our mission, on our values, and on our purpose, right? And making sure that that's aligned, and that we're together in this thing going forward. So it just made me really, you know, smile a lot, thinking like, hey, I know this is for business, but like, you know, why not? We'll call it the life operating system, because this is something that's helped me to find clarity and purpose in my own life, and living this kind of a model, if you will. And I'm pretty proud of it. So the question at the end of it is, you know, what's your life operating system? And you know, what are your guys' thoughts on this one overall? So I'll open it up the floor to y'all.
Boy, what is my life operating system?
How do you stay aligned? Yeah.
Well, I mean, yeah, it is kind of like cheesy and corny, but yeah, like, sure, I have my sheet here, you know, and it's got my goals, my daily habits, and ideas and quotes that I end up liking on it, and sure, it's my list of 10 commandments, you know, and so whether like I end up like reviewing that, like either not every night, but like at least like once a week, going over it, and just, yeah, and sometimes like refining it, like, you know, there's like the classic thing that you'll end up having some emotions or frustrations about, whether your work or a goal that you had, and you're like, oh fuck, I want to give this shit up or whatever, this is stupid. But, you know, like maybe that's just a fleeting emotion or whatever, but, you know, if that sticks with you, then you maybe got to like actually look at your goal and define if it's good for you, or I don't know, these are just my thoughts of it. because it's also like, I've been thinking about when I've been working up at the creamery, how it's hard to build things if you keep changing,
Yeah.
in terms of like changing, like, oh, I want to do this, oh, I want to do that. And there's we're talking about in class today that it is sort of overwhelming sometimes the amount of choice that you can end up having. Whether you can think about that in a career, or let's say like a girlfriend, or a girl, or dating somebody. And that's why, marriage is a sort of neat foundation, because it's like, no, you're saying like, I do, you know what I mean? I'll,
Right.
to death do we part. Not like, oh, well, one time when I'm done with you, or something else.
Yeah.
When you have no more values to
Right.
provide for me.
Yeah, exactly. So if you don't have like, that your mission, vision, and values, and also the idea about, let's say, like sticking with something, we have these like moral social contract codes that morality ended up being like an evolutionary uh advantage thing, because like, well, sort of a tip for that, tip for tat, like, I'll do this for you, I'll make this one sacrifice as long as like you'll make that same sacrifice. Like, I won't pillage your village if you don't pillage my village, and
Yeah.
so like morality actually did have like sort of an evolutionary advantage. And you also maybe think about that though, like, so let's keep these moral codes. But the problem is, though, can be sometimes people can cheat those moral codes a little bit, because whether they're just a little bit selfish and they might get away with it once, but
Right.
obviously living like that and good. So it's like, I think we've all talked about like enduring values that are good, not necessarily just for us, but are also good for humanity, whether like that they can nourish like trust and respect and cooperation. So, and then that's one thing that is a sort of a side tangent, that some faith and religions can have those in there that really can be good guiding values. So I think this whole idea about a life operating system is just like, yeah, like a set of, obviously keeping in line with what you want to do, but also, yeah, like keeping in mind good moral and social norms that are good for you, but are also like good for others as well, and will probably help breed like cooperation and trust and respect, so that you can do better as well. Because in like this whole like gaming system now, when we're like everyone's collaborative and working together, usually if the other person does better, you'll also do better as well. So I think it's a really cool model that you talk about, you and Amelia, like write down, have written things down, and like kind of go over them and check out, so.
Yeah, I mean that I think that's awesome. I love it. I love the little checklist you have, and like I agree with you. I mean, if you're not checking in often, like you could easily get off path, like,
Yeah.
and like that's the I true. I mean, I'm sure this will probably make sense for you. The whole right people in the right bus, like make sure
Mhm.
like you can't keep, like the whole idea with EOS is, once you have that vision, like align yourself with people that help that vision go forward, and help that purpose go forward, and help that mission and your values, to align together, right? Otherwise it makes it really freaking hard, to like you two are helping me, like, and I hope I help you guys, too.
Why do
Like,
you think I'm on this call? It's not
exactly.
just
Yeah.
your nice pearly white teeth, Chris, your nice hair, Trieu.
You're exactly right. I mean, that's why we're all on this call together, because all of our shared values and things that we want to keep working on together. Like, this helps us to stay in line and to stay focused on what matters to us. And like making sure that you're bringing the right people onto the right bus. And Trieu and I have talked about this like ad nauseum over the past almost 3 years now, of like, how fast do we want to go with this thing? Like, do we want to? We don't win. And like, I think, I mean, I don't want to speak for you, Trieu, but I feel like we've settled on the fact that we don't want to go fast. Like, we want to slowly, we want to make sure that we are 100% locked in on what we are trying to do first and foremost for us, with this whole thing. And then we'll slowly bring people into this stuff, because like we tried to start to scale, like, the core values quest. And we both were like, almost had this like, what are we doing? Like, moment, like we don't need to operationalize. We don't need to do any, like, we're people like Tanya, and not that Tanya's bad, or what was that one girl that Blake was mentoring?
Aaron.
Aaron, yeah. The girl Aaron, yeah. And you're like, those people aren't who we want on this bus ever. I don't care if they made it through the quest or not, And like, but we were like trying to be like, well, we got to get like 10 more people in the pipeline because we got to grow it like 2x to be able to, you know, keep pace. And like, you know, and we're like, no, stop. Like, just like, this is that's why we did these meetings, like to check in with everything. And that's how the Year of Magical Learning kind of came about. Like with, you know, we called this our 7th generation Iroquois meeting a long time ago.
Are you guys still having people go through kind of that quest or whatever you call it? What do you call it?
The core values quest? No, we stopped it. The last quest that we did was I want to say it probably ended in January of last year. So it's been almost a year since we've done one. Because we saw what was happening. We were like, this isn't our L10 meeting that we were having was like, this isn't what, and you'll notice Nichol's not here, you know, not because like we don't love Nichol. He was amazing and he's an awesome person, but he wasn't aligned with what we were trying to do either. He was like, I want to go build something, you know, like fast, you know, and
I don't think I know Nichol.
You probably met him on our, I don't know, actually. Nichol was doing this stuff with us for about a year.
Yeah, you don't mean who, Ben, or what was the other guy's name who sometimes who was my mentor?
Blake.
Yeah. Blake's definitely still around and doing a lot of this stuff, but he's like a little bit on the sidelines just because he started a new job and his values are different. Like he started a new job and he had a kid and, you know, a lot of other things going on. And you know, the whole point of all this stuff is to make sure that have the right people in the right bus, you know, on the right seats. I mean, we love Blake, we love Nichol, we love all these people, but they're also not on this call, you know.
And where people's priorities are and like it's how much time they have, you know, like I mean.
Yeah, absolutely true. All right, sorry. What's your get you in here on this?
Okay, so for me, you know, 2 thoughts come to mind, right? The first one is, you know, the EOS, the Entrepreneurial Operating System is borrowed from the computer, right? So it borrowed from computer to say, you know, you have to have a certain rules and certain quote unquote framework to run, and by that token, no computer can run without an operating system.
Right.
So by the same token, no life can be run or can be lived without a live operating system. So that the idea that I'm thinking here is that it's either you choose your LOS or an LOS will be installed on you, i.e. society, right? So and then take that analogy a little bit one step further. Let's say I have a Windows operating system and I want to put that on a Chromebook. Would that Chromebook run? It will run, but it's very, very inefficient and very slow, right? You same thing. If you take an Apple Mac OS and you put it on a Windows hardware or the whatever different hardware than it was made for, it is not efficient. So by that, what I mean is that we are like resemble the hardware, and we need to have the LOS that is suited for us. Meaning, whatever our core values are must align with what we have as far as the sensors, the hardware, the metrics, and all that. So to me, choosing the right live operating system, it is super important to have that. That's why I'm saying is, go back to what you're saying about the bus. I mean, you can go as fast as you want, but then if you're on the wrong bus, then there's no point because you're not going to place it where you want to go.
Right. Yeah.
Right. And so the thing is, a lot of people, and another thing is, you think about how, Snow has like these commandments of life that he goes through. You have vision board. I have certain things, certain framework that I follow, my morality, whatever that governs how I interact with things. That's my operating system. That's what I chose based on like you and me learning through these interactions we have every night. But if you think about it, how many of us as a society has the opportunity to sit down and choose our LLS?
I mean, we all do. Technically, we all do, but
no, you don't. My point is you don't. Yeah. My point is you don't, because and I'm like guilty of this, right? When I was growing up, I did exactly what people told me I need to do. They told me this is the life I need to live. I need to be this, I need to do that. I was told, I was given these parameters. I was given an LLS
Right.
to live by, to run things by, right? You know, whether or not you say, hey, you know, you should suck it up and embrace, you know, the suck, eat the frog, right?
Right.
Grind, right? Do those kind of things. I was told that.
Yeah.
So that was my LLS, right? Until you and I met and we have learned together over the years, and I've learned that I can choose my own LLS. I can choose the principle and the framework, quote unquote, the LLS that I want. And to me, that's super important in the terms of why we build ClubAny in the first place, why ClubAny, you know, came about in the first place.
Right. Yeah, no, I think that's a great point. The last point that you were just making of Snow kind of echoed something similar to that, where he said, like, you know, we have a lot of choices we can make every single day. And like, I don't know about you guys, but like, I don't really make a lot of choices anymore these days, like, because this is kind of the framework that I use, and it makes my life so much easier to like just say, like, look, I know what I'm doing, like, I know what I care about, and I know what I want to do every single day, and I just do that. Like, and I mean, I miss a lot of things these days, and I don't care. Like, I mean, I don't really give a shit if I miss.
Whether you miss events or other things or this and that, or like even like the World Cup. I ended up not watching the World Cup, but like it didn't really faze me. I kind of like had something else that I ended up planning on doing, and you know, kind of thought about. I don't know if you guys have ever read the book Indistractable.
Yeah, I did. Yeah.
Yeah.
Wait, Indistract or Undistracted?
Indistractable.
Oh no, I haven't read that one. No, I thought, sorry. Yeah.
But anyway, good. Yeah, because it's like same thing. Like I know what I'm gonna do. Like let's say each day or each morning, like get up, go for a run, meditate, have breakfast. You know, go to work, do this. You know, like this, that, and that. And it's just like, I mean, it's also kind of nice. Like the last, you can end up using your mind to do the difficult decisions.
Right.
If you just set up this operating system. And Trieu, I just really liked how you talked about like obviously like the operating system of one person might be different for another person. You can't just like take my operating system and put it in somebody else, because every person is so unique. In even if you think about a diet, even too, or whatever, like one diet for one person is going to work for another person. And I don't know, I just thought that was a really good point to make, when everybody has to be on their own personal quest. And that's why I was kind of disappointed to hear that you guys aren't doing those quests anymore, because I got a lot out of that. Like,
no, we plan to. We just we were going at it from a different perspective going forward. Like we decided to pause what we were doing. We're not giving up on that at all. No, we that just was like almost like a proof of concept of like this was really helpful, and this can be a part of what we want to do with ClubAny going forward. But but what we were doing, we were like, this is not aligned with what we're trying to get to. So that's why we pumped the brakes on that. And we'll bring it back. Don't worry. Like, I mean,
and it's not like, and yet it's not like that thing like everybody needs to do that. I mean, because really for what it came down to is like, you know, like reading books, meditating, you know, thinking about values. And a lot of the books that we read or whatever, it's just reinforcing that same thing. Yeah, the importance about having a good mission, vision, and values, and, you know, sticking to your goals and being undistractable and having a good vision board. And, you know, there's like a book I read recently called it was actually called Brainstorm. It was about the teenage brain, but how even adults or whatever, how we think about a good healthy plate, you know, should have a certain, whether vegetables have some protein, you know, yada yada, some fruit, and whether even like your daily life should end up having a healthy balance of some focus time, some physical time, some downtime, some connection time, some personal reflection time. And so I think this, like, and that is like the operating system that we need. And I think you're right. Like, it seems like some people don't have an option because like an operating system takes over them, and that's like society almost. And like Chris, you make the point, you miss a lot of stuff. Great, because you are operating on your own operating system, you know, and that's when you're actually able to do big things. Or like Chris, you're like leading a team now, like of people like, you know, doing like their own quest, even though it's through work. And I think like myself, I'm better off too, like being my own operating system. And I think I'm able to impact other people better by being my own operating system and being a model of what, like, of that, I guess.
100%. I mean, I'm shocked that Trieu has not said what I know he's chomping the bit to say.
Really? What'd he say? What did he say?
Go ahead. Bring it out. Go ahead.
A beaver must dam.
Yeah.
I mean, the thing is, if I'm a beaver, I don't care if the wolf is howling at the moon. I can miss it and I wouldn't. I mean, it doesn't matter to me because I'm not a wolf. I'm a beaver, so I gotta do the beaver thing. I gotta build my dams, right? A beaver must dam. So for me, is you have your own operating system, and if you know who you are, then you can choose the values that it's important to you, and so it's so easy to ignore the other things, other events, other activities. That's not who you are, and so you say, well, the world has a lot of options, right? I can burrow into the dirt. Well, but that's not me. I'm not I'm not a rabbit. I'm not a rat. I'm not going to be burrowing into some kind of dirt hole because and for me to choose the options or the activity I do, once I know what my LLS are, then it's not really like hard to say, hey, I'm missing the World Cup. Well, I mean, it's World Cup. It's not something that is important to me as would be for some others.
Yeah, but Trieu, this is also though scary though, because also in the book I'm reading right now, Mental Immunity, and he talks about how like it's better for us as a society to yield to reason. Like we as a society need to yield to reason, but the problem is a lot of people, whether you're climate deniers or or some other people, whatever, who just flat earthers, let's say, are just completely wielding to reason. And they do that and they become rigid because they're a beaver. They're gonna dam. I'm just gonna ignore that.
Right. Oh, so that's a good point. It's the beaver must dam is not the analogy is not to say, be completely inflexible or something along those lines. It's just to say to live your purpose. Like, if you know what you're supposed to do, then make sure that you're doing that. But not like, I mean, don't get me wrong. Like if this isn't a good place to dam, go dam somewhere else. Like, but make sure that you're in the environment and surrounding yourself with the people around that can help you to to further that purpose, right? Not to say be completely inflexible. That's that.
Yeah, no, and I think it just made me think of the book that I was reading, just because like it is almost scary these days how inflexible, how ideological people can be, because they can just put themselves off and say like, hey, no, I'm just going to ignore all these facts. And I don't think any of us think that that's good to do.
No, not at all. No, I mean, like,
he's just like, I don't
so
know,
so it's a yes and it's a no, because like I say, it's about reasons, right? Because the reason is going to be in somewhat more significant or some insignificant to you and to others, depending on what it is. If you talking to me as a beaver, as maybe approaching the topic of having water or clean water, whatever. If you told me about, hey, this water is toxic, it's within my reason to understand it, then yes, I will follow those reasons and take into considerations, and will make a decision that's gonna best benefit me and whoever is telling me. But if you're talking to me about the glaciers across the world, if I'm a beaver, right, it has nothing to do with me. There's nothing I can do with information. So the thing is, the analogy of a beaver is to simplify a lot of the concept. But as a human being, yeah, we have more reach, more range than the beaver would. And so anything that is within a realm of, I guess, reasoning, I think that would be part of our responsibility as a collective group. But if it beyond a collective knowledge, like let's say there are aliens on Mars, and there's nothing we can do from Earth, then that information to me I can ignore, because there's nothing I can do in terms of affecting the outcome of it. So taking the beaver aside, just say, hey, that's a beaver. The concept is to figure out what makes you you, right? And you need to express who you are. Your DNA needs to express itself to be that person. Like I say, an eagle must fly. If you put an eagle in a cage, right, it's not gonna live long. We're talking about running with Sherman, like last week. A Sherman, a donkey, he stays in a shed and he's dying just because he wasn't able to express himself as a donkey Therefore, he's like at death's door. But once he start doing the donkey thing again, which is go outside and run, he gets healthier, better. And so that's the thing, is the concept of the beaver is, we are made in a unique way based on the combinations of our genes, and we must express the gene that we have, right? If you're an eagle, you want to fly. If you're a donkey or a horse, you want to be in the wild. If you're maybe a rabbit or whatever, you want to be protected in a hole or whatever the case. And to extrapolate it to a human being is not, obviously it's not a one simple concept, one simple gene, DNA like a beaver does and that damn all the time. But as a human, we take that and say, okay, if you're a beaver and this and that, well, you still have your combinations of your realm of information that you can influence. But like I say, it's still within the reason, but it's outside of our realm of reason. I don't think there's nothing we can do to impact. So we can ignore those. But having the LRS will give you a more of like a decision tree to say, hey, this is not something that's important to me. I can go through it, ignore it. Just like we talked about yesterday with Chris about, he wants to play pickleball. He wants to but he loves tennis more, right? So he did run through his core values. Say, well, this thing is not as important to me as this. So I'm going to focus on this one, even though I do like some of these aspects, but not as much as I do this, right? So that's my point.
Yeah, I like that. Yeah.
It's
And
a decision.
I think it's good how you were able to keep on that metaphor and still have it make sense. Yeah.
I mean, I piggybacking on that, it's a decision framework, right? Like Snow. When I hear what you said, you bring up a really good point of like, could it's the whole hedgehog and fox concept, right? Like again, that we've seen brought up a million times over the course of our conversations as well. Of the Good to Great Jim Collins is like, it's all about the hedgehog concept, and then other people are all like, no, it's all about being a fox and being rangy. It's all about whatever, right? Like, and then Trieu and I, we were like, we want to be a foxhog. We want to be a rangy person that goes deep, But this is also about a decision-making framework, like, because you're going to get confronted with questions you can't answer. But this is when you go have your L10 meeting, and Amelia and I talk about it, going, okay, like maybe am I off right now? Like, do we need to talk, like run it through the framework to make that decision going forward as to, does this align? Because if you ask me if I'm a flat earther or something along those lines, and I'm fighting about this, and then I'm thinking, well, does this really align? Do I get energy out of this, or am I just fighting? Because eventually, I guarantee you, most of these people, like that's the art of running up a hill, right? Like we can endure, we can fight, we can keep trying to tough it out, but like when we know that we're just exhausting all of our willpower and our energy to go try to fight that battle, like it's not going to last. It's not sustainable. Eventually you're going to give up and you're just going to be exhausted or quit, right? On the other end of it, like if you're constantly reiterating and iterating on these things and making sure that you're checking in on, is this activity that I'm doing aligning with these other things, and does it give me energy? Because then it's sustainable. Then I'll know that it's alignment. So if flat earthing is in alignment with that, then sure, maybe if for whatever reason like that ended up becoming in alignment with what I was trying to do, then maybe that's sustainable. But I doubt it, right? Like I have a feeling that it would probably be a waste of time. But no, I does that maybe help? I guess with what, because you bring up a really good point. Like you don't want to be rigid.
But it is a good point. But the thing is, it's the I guess the separations of where we draw the line, right? Because for me, if you think about it, if I'm aligned with something, let's say I'm a beaver, you're asking me about water because I've been in water so much of my time, right? I'm gonna know a little bit about it. So when you talk to me about water, I understand it, right? And whatever I say, it's gonna have reason to. But if you're gonna reason with me about, let's say, the desert and the sand, right? I'm a beaver. I have no idea. I've never been there. So if I were to be this stubborn beaver and say, hey, the sand is this and that, and it's good for this, I mean, it doesn't line with me. So there's not much for me to defend it. So I wouldn't have defended it as if it's my life depends on it. But if you're talking to me about, hey, water, this is good water, this bad water, this, whatever the case may be, I probably have some knowledge on a topic that most average other animals. So to me, this is where you said the reason comes in, and the reason has that sphere of influence, right? Because if you're talking about somebody who is good at what they do and they like what they do, right? They're gonna know something about the topic versus just, hey, I'm going to be this stubborn animal and I'm going to defend, hey, the earth is flat, right? If I don't care about the earth is flat, right? Then there's no, I wouldn't assume anyone would take a stand on something they don't know.
Mm-hmm.
And argue with you about it, because if you think about it, if I'm arguing with you about something because I've actually have seen something, right, and maybe what I say may have some validity just because I spent so much time in it for me to say, hey, I'm so confident about the earth is flat, right, because I've seen something. And that's what I'm saying is having these people to kind of debate on the reasoning. I think that's going to give you more clarity versus just one person experience one side of the perspective, one vision, looking, look, one person looking west and one looking east, right? They have two different sights, different vision based on the direction they're looking at.
If I think if you're a flat earther too, like, and you have to fight that, then if you're a true flat earther that aligns to your beavers don't need to talk about why I'm damming. They just do it, right? Like, they don't need to justify why they're damming. Like, if you're a flat earther, you don't need to talk about being a flat earther. Like, you don't need to tell other people that you're just like, yeah, somebody asks you, is the earth flat? You're like, yeah, sure, it is. I mean, it's like, but you don't need to go around talking about it either, because it's a part of you. Like, you just damn, like, I mean, like, you don't fight about it. Like, you don't challenge other people. You don't go up and say, you need a dam, like, and you're like, no, I don't want a dam. You're like,
maybe maybe they do,
No,
not if you're a true flat earther.
I think if you truly know yourself, right, you just do the things and don't
That's what I was meaning.
Impose your, I guess, your visions of the world on other people. Now, only people who impose a vision on other people if they want certain thing and they don't have it yet and they're not at peace with themselves, so they want to change and they think, hey, if I tell other people to create this world, then I would have it. So the people who are telling you, imposing their views on you, are lost. That's why they do it. Because
that's what
if you look,
I kind of disagree, because let's say we want people to understand that, let's say that that they need to do the COVID vaccine, that, hey, like, vaccines work, let's say, they aren't going to
that's my point, is you don't know. That's why you think, because the vaccine works or doesn't work, right? That is something that either you know or you don't. If you know it works, right, then you won't be, exactly how things start and how things would work, right? Whether or not certain fact will come about if you don't get a vaccine or get a vaccine, and you will have a confidence in what people do, and because you know exactly what it is, you have other ways to say, well, I can do this or I can do that, versus I'm telling you, you gotta get a vaccine. Well, I don't know, that's why I'm telling you. But if you know already, then most time you get to do things that going to benefit you the best, whether you wear a mask or you get your vaccine. If you get a vaccine, for example, if you get a vaccine, you are protected. Then why are you worried about? When if the other guy, he's being a dumb a dumbass and didn't want to take the vaccine, right? It's his prerogative.
But in terms of, like, we need, like, let's say, like, herd immunity, because, like, let's say if you are, like, the government, you want everybody to get vaccinated so that we, like, do, or ideally, let's say, let's have a premise: vaccines work, let's say.
But do you know how? But that's the point. We don't know that it works.
I think we do know that it works. I think the science is out there that it is effective.
Well, we know that a vaccine works, but we don't know how it affects the broader ecosystem. Like, I mean, I don't think that we can 100% say that, like, if this does this, then
well,
this does this,
even
like,
now,
that's the universe at work, right? Like, we'll never know that stuff,
But,
like, and I don't mean that in like that to not say that not do it or something along those lines. I'm saying that like we never know when we make an action how it's going to downstream.
It goes back to what I was saying before. I don't know shit, and no one knows, because, like I said, people say the dinosaur looks like this, and I told Chris before, I don't believe in it. Show me evidence that looks like that, right? Because the thing is, we don't know for sure. We think, well, probable that vaccine works, but there's no guarantee for sure that works. No one knows, right? That's just a fact of life. We don't know, because I was told it works. How do I know it works?
This is a slippery slope to get on, because then you could also say, like, you could even like use like subjectiveness, like, hey, no, black people just like being slaves, you know?
I mean, I know I understand where you're going with this, like, and I agree. Like, I think,
like, at some point we have to be like, no, this is good. We want people to understand this, or we want people to do this. At some point, if we're gonna have like a rational society, at some point we certainly have to like start imposing like, yes, this is true, you know. And but that's the thing. But people don't like to be told what's true. That's
But
why
that's the thing is,
deny
it goes back to what I'm saying before. Is you have your own realm of reasoning. If they cannot overlap that reasoning, no one's gonna listen to you. Society comes from the commonality of the values we live, because like American has a different culture, the Chinese have different culture, the Russian has different culture, the Korean have different culture. They have the aligned values and they understand because of that. You can't just impose some belief on somebody and say, hey, this is reasonable. Well, you tell me it's reasonable. Okay, let me hear it. Don't tell me it works, but tell me how. Well, how do you know that it works? Right? You can't say, well, we know it works based on science. Okay, show me specifically how it works. It's not like I'm going to be saying, no, it doesn't work, and I'm not going to listen to you. What I'm saying is, give me something that I can understand. Maybe I'm too stupid to understand because you're assuming that this is like common knowledge. But for me, maybe I'm too dumb to even know what this common knowledge is. You have to get to the point where I'm a stupid beaver, right? And you're the eagle or the fox or whatever. You gotta go, well, talk to me in my language to say, well, how this how this water is like this, and if you put this in there, it does like that, right? Show me something that I can understand. So that's what I'm talking about, is in the realm of the understanding and reasoning. You can't just go and say, hey, if something happens over there, it's going to affect you over here. And I say, well, I just don't see it. So you can't make me believe because I just don't understand. So that's the thing we're talking about. It's not about saying, I don't want to hear the reasons and I'm going to oppose it anyway. And to me, that's not anyone is saying, because anyone is going to say, well, if you tell me there's a benefit to it, and if I can see it, then there's no reason for me to believe or not to believe.
I think it's I think it's also the whole point of the whole reflection is the life operating system of aligning yourself to what you know best, which is what gives you energy. I don't know. We're not the universe. We're not Mother Nature. We don't know there's no grand designer to say that if everybody does this, then this is what we get as a societal outcome. I don't know that. You don't know that. Nobody knows that. Like, I don't care the best science in the world. They can't, the universe operates on a different, like, the way that the universe operates is, it's a little experiment with each one of us doing our own thing, right? And as long as we're doing our thing and doing it the best we can do, like, we have the best chance of having a fulfilling life, is all that I know at this point in time. So like I agree. I appreciate society in general at large, and I want, just like everybody else, to have people be happy, healthy, and successful and thriving.
Right. I mean, we want to share, but you don't want to impose.
Right, but that's zooming out. Like, I mean, yes, I want that, but I can't change that. The only thing I can affect is me, and in my life, and make sure that I'm beavering on purpose, if you will, Like, I mean, that's it. I mean, like, I can't. There's nothing else that I can do. And if we happen to come across other people that we align on certain areas, then we can have conversations like this, and we can all benefit out of it, and we can all benefit from our side products of us living our purpose, like Trieu was saying, of like, the beaver knows what he's doing. And
I agree, Chris, but I also think too, like, to Trio's point, like, at some point it is good to try to change or get people to see maybe what you see, though, but you have to speak their language, though, to, let's say, to help them out.
Right. I don't know that you should ever argue it or something along those lines. I don't know that you should ever try to even persuade. I think you do, like you said at the very beginning of this, when you showed me your list, you live by example, and people go, like, that's what people respond to. Nobody really responds to somebody talking to them about, like, because they're never going to get it. Like, you don't ever understand until you understand.
There's better coercive ways than others, but I just think that, and I don't think you guys are saying that, but, or maybe, and if you are saying that, then it's like, yeah, I want to say that, no, you guys, we at some point sometimes do need to be coercive, inappropriate ways to, whether it's teaching, you think of like education, teaching kids, like, no, it's not okay to lie. No, it's not okay to do this. Like, I mean, education is important, whether you're an adult or a kid. Like, we're educating people to, for a civil society, and with that can sometimes come some sacrifices. Let's say, whether you can't just decide to do what you want to do willy-nilly all the time,
Oh, I agree. I'm not
I mean,
not
the
saying
thing
that.
is, Mother Nature will, balance out, because if you do whatever you want, right? Well, you're gonna have consequences for it. I mean, if I were to say, hey, I want to do what I want, I'm gonna jump off this 5-story building. Well, you're gonna have consequences for doing that, right? If you're gonna bang somebody on the head with it, well, somebody's gonna bang you on the head with it. So there is Mother Nature's gonna take care of you. The society itself, in the intelligent design, we want to protect the kid and say, well, if you do this, this is going to happen. But if you force a kid to do certain things without getting to the reasoning, it doesn't stick.
Mm-hmm.
They're going to rebel and do whatever they do, and they swing from one end to the other end to the other extreme, and it makes them even worse than they would have, like, it's the small swing in the middle. They go for, hey, you push me too much, now I'm going to act out. I mean, you're talking about pressuring somebody without having the ability for them to reason and understand. To me, that isn't going to work as a society. You're going to have society that's going to become chaos. So that's why I think the realm of the circles of reasoning is important, because you're going to have to come to me and talk to me about things I know. Relate to me how the water is going to change. Um, in the same manner, if the snow or the ozone in Alaska is melting, right? It changes the water in this way. Well, it's gonna affect you over here because it changes like this. So when you talk to me in terms of water, in terms of what I know, in terms of what I do every day as a beaver, I understand that and I get it. And then once I get it, then yeah, I can say, well, that's benefit. I'm going to do what you suggested. But if you can't just come say, hey, you don't do this, you do that, and this is the outcome. I say, well, I just don't understand. If I don't understand, I just want people to do it from like the self-directing self, right? You can't just do because, hey, somebody told me. Even if my parent told me, I still don't understand. I wouldn't do it because it's one of those things where we have to be self-directed, right? And the self-directed won't let us do it. So let's say, I told you that eating avocado is good, but if I don't believe it, I won't eat it. I will eat once in a while, and then I just forget about it because there's no driven, like no motivation from
Unless you eat
within
the
to do.
avocado and you feel all of a sudden you feel like, wow, that was really good,
And that's
Agreed.
where
And then you'll eat
the
it more.
evidence
Like,
that's where the
yeah,
evidence and the
that's when you
feedback
beaver on
gives
purpose.
you the
Yeah.
understanding comes back. Say, hey, well, if I eat it, I see. Oh, I see it, right? Then where this is where I self-direct myself to do it. So same thing with
But you gave
COVID,
that
right?
fruit though. That's important comment. You gave that fruit. You gave that avocado. Someone gave you that avocado. Said, "Hey, try
Sharing,
this
but
out."
not imposing. That's why I
Mhm.
say
Yeah.
sharing. I love
I
sharing,
didn't
and
say
I would
imposing,
be
but coercing effectively.
This whole journey is sharing, guys. Like, this is what we're doing. We're talking and we're sharing our thoughts, and if somebody else listens to this, I don't really care. We're doing this for us, but if somebody else hears this and they get value out of it, and they understand from whatever else, and they like the avocado or whatever, they taste it and they're like, that makes sense. I want to learn more and I want to go deeper. Like, they can reach out, they can do whatever, and I'm happy to leave a trail of crumbs all over the place for all of us, for other people to find. But like, to Trieu's point, I'm never gonna impose onto somebody else like my way of life, because this is my life operating system. Like, if you want to take bits and pieces of it and inform your own going forward, like, because it aligns to you beavering on purpose, then or eagling on purpose or whatever you are, I don't really care. But that's exactly what you guys are. Trieu's right. Like, you can never tell anybody. Like, we've even played this game before of like, could you even get your own self? If you told your own self 20 years ago, this is what you need to do, I don't think you could do it. Like, I think your own 20-year-old self, Snow, would say, fuck you, dude. I don't know any. Like, you've lived 18 other years of seeing things that I haven't seen and feeling things that I haven't felt and experiencing stuff that I have not experienced. I'm not even going to listen to my own self right now. Like, if I went back and told my own self, I would not listen to him.
Right. Yeah, I'm still struggling with that because I asked you the same questions over and over again. What would you say? But for me, is I'm not convinced I can convince my 20-year-old self to listen to me because I just don't understand. There's no bridging that gap, right? So it's the bridging of that reasoning, the sphere of reasoning is super important for us to get together as a collective being. So ClubAny, and it's basically a culture, right? You go into this culture or this live operating system where you have common values. This is where we can speak to each other, because if I say red, right, and your red is completely different than my red, right, there's no way you and I can understand each other, right? I mean, that's the thing, is we have to agree on something. Hey, let's take a premise of, red is this color, whatever the color is. Hey, that's red. You agree it's red, I agree it's red. Now I'm gonna tell you, hey, the apple is red. And then we understand. Once understanding, then we can move forward and accept the influence from the other. But if we don't understand each other, then there's no way. I mean, I just don't understand it. Then, I mean, it's not like I have any kind of like aversion to accepting anything. It's just when you understand it, you're automatically not going to be able to run it.
I like it. Okay. All right. I feel so. We're getting close to time here, so let's say always a fun conversation. You guys have any final thoughts for life operating systems and impacts in your life, or any parting words?
So my final word is still my beginning of what I'm saying is, you cannot, a computer cannot run without an operating system, and you cannot have life without an operating system. So either you choose your operating system, or the default operating system will run you. So be sure to think about that.
And I would say too, I just like this concept about a life operating system, and I just hope that everybody can find, a life operating system that really is fulfilling for them.
Yeah, absolutely. That is the mission of ClubAny, at its core, is to help people to find that fulfilling life and to live it on purpose in an environment supported by other people doing the same thing. And if you can overlap and find those connections and those uncommon commonalities, then you can build something together, pretty amazing. But yeah, it's all about exactly what you just said, Snow. So I mean, if we can help other people to do that, like I'll feel like I made my daughter proud and did my own purpose. So that's good. So thanks for joining, and it's a fun conversation as always, and we will see you all tomorrow. Snow, are you joining tomorrow, or are you?
No, probably once every at least every couple of weeks or something. It's always great. I really do enjoy our conversations, and they're stimulating, but it's also my bedtime here, so I need.
All right.
Same here. So all right,
You guys
thanks
have
for
a good
joining,
night.
everyone.
Sounds good. Good night, guys.